Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here, nevermore.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to 31 Days of Horror. I am Morgan Film Fan. Let's jump into some scares. We are going back all the way to 1935 with The Raven, starring Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff, both obviously famous for Dracula and Frankenstein, and many of the Universal horror movies from the time. This is a 5-film collection of Bela Lugosi, 5 of his films. One of them is The Raven, based on the Edgar Allan Poe poem. And what we have going on in this story, this literally is only an hour long, an hour and 1 minute, so it feels very episodic. A lot of these films are quite short, where they just feel like episodes of a television show. So this goes by really quick. What we have going on here is we have Bela Lugosi playing Dr. Volin, and Dr. Volin is basically a surgeon, essentially. And at the beginning of the film, there's this accident with this woman named Jean. She gets into a car accident, and then her father, Mr. Thatcher, begs this Dr. Volin to fix his daughter up. And Dr. Volin, of course, does. But after doing so, Dr. Volin falls into this infatuation, which he considers love, with Jean. And Mr. Thatcher is like, Jean is actually engaged or married. I think she's engaged. She's with a man, though, named Jerry, so she is fully taken. And Mr. Volin is like, well, I fixed your daughter up, so she should be with me, and yada, yada, yada. So Jean and Jerry are together, though. And then we're introduced to this other character named Bateman. Bateman is played by Boris Karloff. And Bateman has this facial... like, he grows a lot of hair on his face. He has this disfigurement to his face. I didn't really see it as a disfigurement. He's just kind of bearded and has kind of a strange looking face, but nothing like out of the ordinary per se. But anyways, he wants his face fixed, and Dr. Volin, as a surgeon, fixes his face, but makes it worse. So half of his face is very frozen. And it's funny how they did the makeup on Boris Karloff, because it looks like he's closing one eyelid and it's just painted over as an eye. Half of his face doesn't move at all. And because he played Frankenstein, he's very Frankenstein looking, at least in half of his face. And the other half is normal. But he comes out, he's completely shaved, like he has no more facial hair whatsoever. And he essentially looks the same, except with like half a frozen face. So he comes out of the surgery looking worse. But anyways, Dr. Volin makes him his servant and basically enslaves him and makes him false promises, because Dr. Volin is basically a sociopath and has this obsession with Edgar Allan Poe, specifically the Raven poem. He has this taxidermy, I don't know how you say it, but taxidermy raven, stuffed raven essentially, and he knows like all of Edgar Allan Poe's poems off by heart. He has this entire room in his home dedicated to the Pit and the Pendulum, so he has a literal pendulum that swings over a table that he has all fixed up to chain somebody down and whatnot. He invites Jerry and Jean and Mr. Thatcher to the home to stay for a while. Now, I didn't understand what made them say yes. I didn't understand what made them go there in the first place, because there's just red flags popping up all over the place. He uses Bateman as an assistant, and Bateman, like I said, he's given false promises, and he said, like, you do this for me and I'll fix your face again, you do this for me, I'll fix your face again. So he's almost like he's being used and manipulated, essentially, because he obviously wants his face back to normal. And Dr. Volin is using this to his advantage, so he uses him as his own personal bitch kind of thing. He brings the couple over, Gene and Jerry, and the father, and they stay a bit, and then they see that things are getting sketchy, and eventually Volan has this motive to try to torture them, essentially, because he has this fascination with torture. He wants to torture people in the vein of Edgar Allan Poe poems, and he's just basically sick in the head, and he's this like evil mastermind of a surgeon kind of thing. And the story goes from there, basically. So there's some really, really great sets, and I love how the devices are built. And like there's one situation where there's a room where the walls come in, and there's this elevator that he uses that brings an entire room to a different floor, and it's shot really well, and the way they do it for the time, especially for 1935, seemed really ahead of its time, seemed really advanced for, like I said, the time that this film was made. This could almost be part of an anthology, you know. That's a lot of, I think all of these entries in this pack they're all like an hour and 1 minute, hour 19 minutes, hour 10 minutes. So you're not getting really long stories or anything like that. I really enjoyed myself with this one, and I really liked Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi together. I mean, anything they're in separately is fantastic, but whenever you get them together, they're like the duo of that era, of that golden era. And this is pre-code rating, so like this film wasn't even rated, and at the time this would have been considered, you know, like X-rated in the theater when it came to like the deaths and the tortures and the devices and the pendulums and everything. Like this stuff was crossing the line when it came to 1935, which is very interesting to watch and think back on and think about in general. You have the crazy Volan trying to torture all these people and try to, you know, steal Gene for himself, essentially, and it turns into a battle of wits and an escape situation kind of thing. The settings specifically are really, really good. There's this moment in the beginning too. I'm a big fan of organ music, and there's this scene at the beginning of the film where this is after Jean is fixed up from her accident, where Volan is playing the organ for her, and the organ is just beautiful. Like it's very, very gothic, very in your face, and like it just reminds you of like a giant dark castle with like melting candles everywhere. It's that type of music that he's playing, and I just love that. I'm all over that. So that's essentially the story of the Raven. It's a cool one, very gothic, obviously Poe inspired. Good stuff. Definitely recommend it. I'm very excited to check out the other entries in this. Hint, possible there will be another one for 31 Days of Horror. The Raven is definitely, I gave it a 3.5. It was really impressive. I can't say I wouldn't appreciate it being longer. Like, I kind of wanted more because I was enjoying it so much, but at the same time, it didn't drag either because it being so short. You know, a lot of times these films can feel longer than they actually are just because there's so much filler. So The Raven is definitely not one of those. But 1935, that's an old one, and a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I love my old classic cinema, so that was a good entry. I do hear there is a Raven by Roger Corman, which I'm very interested in checking out too. That one's from the 60s, but I hear good things about that as well. Thank you for joining me once again for Spooky Season and 31 Days of Horror. I'm very much enjoying discovering these films. If you've seen them before, by all means, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the films, if you've seen them, if you haven't. Do they sound interesting to you? Do you like the sounds of anything I've been discussing and reviewing so far? Let me know. And join me next time for next review, because we're going, obviously, all the way to day 31. 31 Days of Horror, baby. Till next review, sleep tight tonight.